transition pictures for Billy Graham. Southern Baptist, huge figure, particularly in the 1940s and onwards. He was a counselor, though, throughout his adult life to presidents from Truman to Nixon to Obama. He was a big deal. So when I came to do his pictures, he was on a wire being lowered into this metaphorical cave I always see. He died at 99. He'd had a brilliantly long life. So I guess he passed away slowly over a period of time. I mean, he died in his sleep of natural causes, I think, but he faded away. And maybe this lowering down was part of that fading away. Setting him down gently. Revered, special, important in the world he'd come from. A doer of good, a bringer of light. He looked around. The surroundings didn't make sense. But he started to feel really good. It was freeing. He was liberated. And when he walks into this cave area that I always see, he looks up the tunnel, a little confused, but still open, and all the way up there are these little nozzles, hundreds of them, thousands of them, stretching all the way up the tunnel on the floor. And as he watches, something comes up from these nozzles that forms like a duvet of cloud or mist or something that stretches all the way up the tunnel. All he has to do is lie on this cloud. Have a bit of faith with a small f. Trust the process. Grace is welcoming him with a mattress of support. Like a good job, a thumbs up. You were earnest. You were real. You were sincere. You gave it your all. Allow us to put out the welcome mat for you. Eventually, he flops back on it, and it does support him. And without any effort from him at all, it just carries him up the tunnel. And not only that, when it gets to the top, it delivers him to the platform there. It was so comforting and lovely. And it lulled me into a false sense of security, because I thought, now there's another little bit of tunnel going off. There is the light. He's home. He made it. He's another one of those people who is a hero, being welcomed for the effort he put in to healing the human race. He was anti-segregation. He was also, though, anti-gay and anti-feminist due to the Bible things. I think he was also anti-Semitic. He was caught on tape saying things about Hollywood being run by Jews and them having a stranglehold, something like that. But he was really acclaimed for being anti-segregation. And he went up this little tunnel thinking, ah, there we go, there's my light. And then the weirdest thing happened. As he was walking, what looked like ribbons came out of the floor or walls or wherever, I don't know where they came from, but they kind of slid across, like snakes really, but they weren't snakes, but they looked like it. They slid around, hundreds of them actually, and started wrapping themselves like vines around his ankles and around his legs and then up to his body until he was encased in these wriggling, squirming things. It was bizarre. And it wasn't that they were biting him, but they were stripping him. It was like stripping wallpaper. It was taking away preconceptions, misconceptions, beliefs that weren't true, that he'd actually invested himself in. Just stripping them all away. So much so, it was like removing ballast from a balloon. So that when he emerged at the other side, when they finally receded and retracted and were no longer there, and he was able to walk, he felt horribly weakened. He felt unsupported. He felt naked and vulnerable. When he got into this metaphorical cave that I always see where the light is, he just fell to his knees, crippled by exposure to new perspectives that had happened in this short time. So much stuff had been yanked away from him that he'd been depending on his entire mortal life, but which in the spiritual realm have no bearing whatsoever. They're just part, once again, of somebody's script, somebody's meta-narrative. They're not true, they're just true for them because they believe it. Fell to his knees, humbled, maybe a little scared. It didn't really feel like fear, it just felt like part wonder, part being mystified, but weak. I hesitate always to put words into people's mouths because they're not speaking, it's just symbolic. But the feeling I got was as if he were saying, "Oh Lord, what have I done? Oh Lord, I was wrong. Shock." And then it went from the dramatic to the melodramatic, almost like Shakespearean. And he was on his knees and he tried to reach into the dome membrane thing that I always see. Let me sup from the font of wisdom or something. It was like that kind of grandiose melodramatic thing, which was totally unnecessary. And of course there's nothing you can drink from. When I feel it, when I try to feel it, it always feels like, I've said this before, like the skin that forms on top of a custard if you leave it out too long. That thick skin that forms, it's a bit like that in texture. And there was no way he could reach into it, but he was like, let me drink from this font of wisdom. Oh, and he had this full-blown realization that he had miscalculated. Because he was a full believer in the idea of monotheistic dualism, that separation of God and man. God up there, man down here. And of course that's just meta-narrative. There is nobody up there. There is no heavenly Father. There is no God in the biblical sense. In fact, Jesus himself said, "You are gods." Because of this splinter of the divine that we each have in us that is our animating force. That's the God part of us. We are gods. But because of his belief in separation between God and man, he was only just coming to realize that there was no separation, that it's all one. He stood up and flopped backwards into this membrane thing. Take me, I have no more fight left in me. Whatever happens, happens. Thy will be done. And he sank slowly into the whiteness. A changed man. And disappeared. There was a quote which doesn't seem very relevant to this, but it was by Greg Braden. It appeared on Instagram, and he said, Butterflies cannot see their wings, but the rest of the world can. You are beautiful. And while you may not see it, we can. And I think that that was the lesson, in a really weird roundabout way, that Billy Graham learned during his transition. It's only those beliefs, that idea of separation between us and God, that stops us seeing the beauty of ourselves and other people. This idea that there's something outside of ourselves. No, we are God's. We are the butterfly. We are beautiful as we are. That was his lesson. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Subscribe, like, share. If you could, that'd be great. Follow me on Twitter, @CashPeters. Otherwise, I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.